Well, hello, Jack. I am so happy that you reached out to me. I saw you you came into the comments section and said that you have some information about Daniel. Any idea how to properly pronounce his last name?
Yeah, that is Giacchina.
Okay, I said Giacchina, which is totally disgusting, but anyway, let's first go through the news clip and then you can explain to all of us how you know him, which you might not want to say that, but give us your insight.
Yeah, sounds good.
Are disturbing. A mother and her boyfriend are charged in the death of the mother's 6-year-old son. And that story tops the news here at 6 o'clock. Thanks for being here with us. I'm Kimberly Gill.
And I'm Damon Fernandez in for Devin Skillian. Prosecutors say Giovanni Jennings died inside a home in Madison Heights last month.
I'm going to start with this, Jack. When did you find out that little Giovanni Chulo Jennings had died and his relationship to someone that you know?
So I knew of Chulo before he had passed away. I never had a lot of interaction with him. Whenever I was over there with Daniel at the house with his grandmother, I didn't really see the kids a lot. The kids, they would come out and say hi usually, but for the most part, they kind of just stayed in the room with their mom. But I found out about Chulo a day after, before it had even hit the news, because I'm close with the family.
Mhm.
But I found out pretty quickly what had happened, and unfortunately at the beginning I wasn't fully aware of the situation. What I was told was that Daniel hadn't been the one to do the abuse and that the mother had, and et cetera, but obviously now it's come out that no, he was clearly the perpetrator of a majority of the abuse, which, as much as Daniel was a monster most of his life, I will say I don't think anyone expected that.
It seems that the grandmother, and correct me if I have the name wrong, is it Ann Nix?
Yeah.
She is saying that it's the egg donor, the mother.
Yeah,
However,
so
go ahead, sorry.
so currently the interview she just did, I've watched it and I did talk to her afterwards, and I'm not sure why they cut it the way they did, because if you watch the video you can obviously see that there are portions of the conversation cut. Everything repeated in that news interview, she was repeating what was told to her by the police. What she originally told the police was she had witnessed the mother, maybe I think it was a couple days before, getting at the kid with the belt, and she stopped her and talked to her like, "What are you doing?" Mom said something along the lines, "Well, that's how I got punished." And grandma said, "Well, that you didn't like that, did you? So why are you doing it? Like, you can't do that." And that's what she thought had caused the in the issues, what killed him. That's what she thought. So that's what she had originally told the police. But during that interview, all of that information is just kind of what had been passed along to her through interrogation with the police.
So the grandma was interrogated as well, correct?
Oh yeah. They fully searched her home. They searched her car, which Daniel had actually stowed a. I'm gonna mute myself for just a moment here, just a second.
You're okay. I'm going to go back to the news. Hang on, the news article.
Will Jones joins us live now. And Will, the details in this case are very graphic.
And Damon, to be fully transparent, it was hard to listen to the Oakland County prosecutor lay out the case. It's heartbreaking what this 6-year-old boy endured. He had bruises all over his body. Karen McDowell called it the worst child abuse case she's ever seen. Giovanni Chulo Jennings lived a nightmare. His mom, Elena Jennings, not only allowed the abuse to happen, she also allegedly found humor in it. Investigators say she encouraged her boyfriend, Daniel Giacchina, to do it.
See, and that's I'm good now. That's the part right there that gets me the most. Daniel was incredibly abusive towards his little brother as children. Like, a lot of the stuff that I'm seeing and hearing that he's done to this child were things that he did. to his little brother. Later in life, they got along better. Little brother grew up, got over it. You know, Daniel had seemed to kind of become a different person. He was still always struggled to do the right thing, but you know, he didn't seem like an evil person. It just kind of seemed like maybe, oh, you know, older brother stuff. But that, you know, looking back at it now, it's clear to see that, like, obviously that was some deep portion of his psyche where he just liked to inflict pain on others. You know, he's clearly been sick his whole life.
Now, when you say deep part of his psyche, where did this come from? What are his parents like? You know, we understand that he didn't have a good relationship with his mother. You would think with, you know, the love that his grandmother put on him, you know, it kind of appears from the outside looking in, it's a he can do no wrong type of attitude from grandma.
That may seem how it comes off. She definitely unfortunately, ever since the brother moved out, she has been the prime target of his just disgusting verbal, and you know, the grandmother hasn't admitted it, but I fully believe he's put his hands on her. Him and his parents never, his dad wasn't around. I want to say around 2 or 3 years old, his mom became single. She got with the brother's father, and that didn't last even until birth. So, you know, mom moved in eventually with grandma and her husband at the time, and that's kind of how things went. And mom was an alcoholic. She wasn't the best parent, but I mean, she loved and doted on Daniel, and he was a decent kid until he was about 13. And then he started to show a lot of signs of severe mental illness. You know, severe depression, massive, just absolutely crazy mood swings, you know, going from laughing, playing with other kids or doing whatever to putting holes in walls, screaming, threatening to stab people. You know, he got real hardcore into drugs. Like, you know, I don't know the exact extent of what he used, but I mean, it definitely plays a part in his mental capacity as he got older that he just consistently used.
So is it mental illness, drugs, or just being a total asshole? Because I don't know what mental illness would make you do what he did, not you, of course, to little Chulo, to Gia. Are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, sorry about that. I got a spam call in the middle of that. But I think it's a mix of all three. Daniel has had every chance in his life to get help, and he's basically shot it all down, ruined it, and done basically almost everything he can to make things worse. I think he tried getting clean, but I have every belief that during this time that he had been doing drugs, because as mentally ill as he was, it boggles the mind. Even as someone who knew him as closely as I did, it does boggle my mind to understand that anybody could have.
Oh, if I was you, and I knew someone this closely, I mean, I would be more than boggled. Let's go through this, and I've got some questions, and whether you could answer them or not, just let me know.
6-year-old boy was allegedly confined to a pen like an animal inside their mobile home in Madison Heights. Investigators say at times he was bound to a corner by stapling his clothes to the wall.
Both Jennings and Giacchina laughed about the photo and Giacchina's use of the staple gun to solve, quote, the problem. According to the text, Chulo was being punished in this manner for looking out the window in the pen area.
Investigators say Giovanni died on July 31st of blunt force trauma to his abdomen and a perforated bowel after a lengthy period of confinement and abuse. Initially, the couple put the blame on the boy's biological father. Now Jennings and Giacchina are facing murder and child abuse charges in addition to lying to a peace officer.
Combined, we have spent over 100 hours reviewing extremely disturbing videos and photos, as well as text messages and Facebook chats describing the horrific things that happened to this 6-year-old boy.
Esteban Cabrera recalls seeing his stepson's badly beaten body at the hospital.
He was so unrecognizable. Like his head was almost double the size. His eyes were so.
Now, do you know where this man comes into the picture? He says he is Chulo's stepdad. Do you know how Daniel and Elena Jennings got together?
So I don't know what anything before her getting with Daniel. To be when it comes to her, I know very little, but I do know that they started dating. I want to say a couple months ago. Daniel's always been in and out of relationships. He uses women. He can't, support himself in any type of way. So he gets with whoever he can. And she seemed to be an okay person. She kept him in check. He was, looking for a job. I think he actually had a job for a couple of weeks at some point, which was like out of this world for him. But I believe that as far as I knew, she said that she grew up in the system and that she didn't have anyone and that she had no family that cared about her or the kids. She really made it seem that like there was no dad or anybody else.
Because there's a biological father of Chulo, and then there's this man who says he's his stepfather.
I don't know if maybe she was married after that point then. I'm really not sure where that does come from.
It could be a boyfriend. I don't know. She might have not ever been married to any of them. I don't know, because you know how people use labels this day and age.
Yeah.
That's why I say
Right.
all the time, are you really married or are you Facebook married?
Right. Yeah.
Whose residence were they living in? Is it Elena's or is it the grandma's?
They were living with the grandma. Daniel had kind of just barged his way in there and then moved in Elena and her kids.
Hmm. So he had the best of both worlds. He's got grandma taking care of him, and he's got the new girlfriend, and his only responsibility was to, well, I guess, not steal grandma's pills, grandma's money, and keep the kids alive.
She did. Yeah. Jesus. Sorry. Got her toy. Yeah, no, Daniel, he certainly stole from her on a constant basis. Honestly, I want to say over the past decade and a half, he's easily in one way or another either stolen or guilt tripped her out of close to $60,000. She's over 70 years old and working full time because he's taken almost every penny from her. I don't think she has a single dollar in state.
Well, elder abuse is common and child abuse is common. So people like that are going to steal from an elderly person and, well, do what he did to little Chulo are disgusting human beings.
He was so unrecognizable. Like his head was almost double the size. His eyes were so swollen.
The last time he saw Giovanni was back in March when Elena moved his two stepchildren and their daughter out of their Southwest Detroit home.
He was such an amazing child. Like he just wanted to run and play.
It's absolutely horrible. So you're saying that this relationship only went on for a couple of months. Have the police reached out to you?
No, I've reached out to the police actually a couple of times. They did call me back once and I gave them a little bit of what I did know and I haven't heard from them since.
Okay. So basically what you have said, I mean, is there any chance, you can tell us, your relationship with Daniel? I mean, did you all hang around together at the pool hall? Did you go to school together?
So I can't tell you if I were to tell you exactly how I know Daniel, it would entirely give away who I am. But I've known him closely since he's a handful of years older than me, but I've known him since I was a small child. Um, my relationship is really with the grandmother. Um, there was a period of time where I tried to, be cool with Daniel and, see and trying to, I tried getting jobs, getting him housing. He, would loan him. He's crashed 3 of my cars. But he, all right, I know him very well, but I never really interacted with him past, hey, how you doing, Josh? Hey, can you do me a favor? Hey, Josh, can you send me $20? Hey, Josh, I'm in jail. Can you put money on my books? Stuff like that.
Well, it sounds to me like he's a real enabled, right piece of shit. And I mean, I'm not trying to pick on your friend, but
Oh no, absolutely. Honestly, if I'm not, I don't want to say anything too crazy, but honestly, if I wish the state had the death penalty. It's
for real.
I really do. Unfortunately, yes, he was very enabled. The grandmother, enabling with her, I want to say isn't the best word, but it's pretty close. She, she had it not great the last 10, 15 years. The mother left her with Daniel and the brother at, that would be about 14 years ago. And then shortly after, about, I want to say within 6 months, a year, her husband at the time came out as gay and left her and the children, which at this time, Daniel was in prison, I believe, for gun charges and assault charges against his baby mom.
Mhm.
Uh,
I saw those bruises on her.
yeah. The one thing I will say about her, though, I'm not going to say her name, is she's a great person now. She's a wonderful mother now, but I mean, she was at a time just as crazy as him. The two of them met in juvenile hall. Don't ask me exactly how this specific situation happened, where he was, as a juvenile, he was sent to an all girls like juvenile thing. Like, it was supposed to be for girls, but because he had his sentence reduced and it was a lower facility, that's where he went and that's where he met her. And just, yeah, he's never been a great person. And him and her were like fire and water. Like, it was bad, very bad.
It's like birds of a feather. They find each other. I mean, with billions of people on this planet, how some of the sickest people find each other, I will never know. I don't know if you saw this article. It says a 4-year-old boy is helping investigators piece together the tragic last days of his 6-year-old brother, who was battered to death by his parents, which Daniel's not his parent, after suffering a childhood of savage abuse, which it's a few months.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, when you're only 4 years old, 6 years old, a few months is a decent chunk of your life.
Oh yeah, I'm not minimizing it. I'm not minimizing it.
Oh no, I'm just.
Bowels were perforated. You know what it would take for Daniel to perforate his bowels? Mother Elena, her boyfriend Daniel, wickedly entertained themselves with surveillance videos of the little boy trying to escape the barricaded pen where he slept on a wooden plank measuring 3 feet by 11 inches. Now, when you were at the trailer, did you notice anything? I mean, did you know there was a pin there? Did you notice anything like that? Did you go inside? And I'm not blaming you, by the way.
Oh no, you're good. You're fine. So I rarely went inside because Daniel had a thing for owning animals that he could not control. I personally have been torn the hell up by some of the animals that he's had. So
what kind of animals were in the home?
He had a pit.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, I mean, it was a nice enough dog. It really was. It's just not well trained, so it peed and pooped all over the place, so the whole house reeked. So I rarely went in, especially if I had my child with me. I wasn't bringing her inside. And when I did go inside, there's only one actual bedroom in the trailer. And Daniel had, when he moved in, kicked the grandmother out of the bedroom and forced her to move into the living room. So I never really left that front entry.
Okay, so grandma's in the living room.
Yeah, it's the opposite side of the trailer.
So then Daniel and Elena are in a bedroom. Are there any other bedrooms? Because you have, I mean, 3 children, 3 adults in the trailer.
Oh yeah, no, all those kids and the 2 adult, the
Hello?
that I guess I'm real popular today.
I guess so.
Yeah, no, all there was technically one other bedroom, but it had the washer and dryer and a whole bunch of other stuff in it.
Okay.
So yeah, no, all 5 of those guys were living in that one little bedroom in the back. And that bedroom is not big. It's not big.
So I haven't, I mean, I've asked, I mean, you know, because I ask a question doesn't mean I'm gonna get the answer. There's no reported abuses on Chulo before meeting Daniel. What do you think spurred on, you know, the pin and stapling him to the corner? I mean, how did grandma not notice the staple gun and pinning him in the corner?
So first I'll tackle the grandmother part. I talk to her less now after this has happened, but I know she's still being interrogated. I myself, I think like anyone else, is having somewhat of a hard time believing that she couldn't have heard anything.
Mhm.
But I do know that she works 40 plus hours a week. He isn't allowed really past into that back room area. And when I say she isn't allowed, I do mean like a child being told you are not allowed to come into this area.
I
I
mean,
know that.
and it sounds bad, but unfortunately for her, it might not go as easy as to say I wasn't allowed to go into my own bedroom.
Yeah. I also,
Considering what
yeah,
all happened to Chulo.
yeah. I also believe that I think they were doing that stuff. For one, I think they were gagging him. When you listen to the prosecutor speak, she does mention that he had wounds inside his mouth,
Mhm.
which I don't understand how that happens unless you're forcing things into a child's mouth. So I do believe they're gagging that child, and I do believe that they were either waiting until she was gone to do whatever sick things they were doing, or they were muffling what they were doing in some way because I don't know if you've ever lived in trailer homes like that, but those trailer homes are the one she's living. I want to say is a 1950s, 1960s built. Can't even get it insured; it's so old. Those walls. If you were having a conversation in the room and I was standing outside of the trailer, I could make out every word that you were saying.
Yeah, the walls are paper thin. I mean, this is not, you know, sheetrock. This is not, you know.
Not even close. I mean, and even the aluminum that's along the sidings, the stuff's so old that it's probably half rusted out.
Mhm.
I'm finding it so hard to believe that they had to have been muffling these children in some way. They had to have been doing something because for none of the neighbors to hear, I knew a lot of those neighbors, not great, but well enough to know that if they heard a kid screaming like that they should have done something. It's done. I just don't see how if that child was screaming, how they weren't caught out.
And I think that's the question for everyone. How did no one hear anything? And unfortunately, it just, the way this is shaken out, it looks like, the grandma might, catch a charge.
Oh yeah, she as far as I know right now, she's not looking at anything. I don't think she's even been interrogated over other than that second time a few days after. But yeah, I fully expect that, like, if they have any inkling that she could have known that she's going to catch a charge, because you can't just you have a duty to report and to say something when something like that's happening. So
Or they might cut her a deal and say, okay, listen, we're not going to prosecute you if you testify against him and her.
I don't think they. But the thing is they normally do plea deals when they need something. As far as I've heard, they've got.
I don't mean a plea deal, more like a proffer agreement.
Yeah. They might offer her some kind. If they do press charges, they might try and offer her some kind of agreement or plea deal due to her age. But I don't think they need her for this prosecution. I don't see any.
But they might want to prosecute her.
Oh, definitely.
Putting them in.
Oh yeah. I just don't see them. If they might prosecute her, but I don't see them using her as some kind of clinch pin or whatever, because the amount of evidence they seem to have, I don't see any jury not recommending the fullest extent of the law to be held down on these two fucking monsters.
Oh, I agree. And when you see cases like this, you just kind of wonder what has happened to humanity, and you wonder what has happened to the judicial system, that there's no death penalty in certain states.
Yeah, well, I personally don't think that, the government should be executing most people because, I think everyone knows the government isn't very good at their job. But in cases when you have video proof of people doing unspeakable things to vulnerable people, I feel like there should be an exception. I feel like people who commit inhumane crimes should not be treated humanely.
Oh, I agree. To me, it's more than unspeakable. Let's look at this from the neighbor, if you have a second.
Yeah.
Death in Madison Heights now.
A 6-year-old boy found not breathing after an alleged beating that may have claimed his life.
Now, this is before the murder charges, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to hear the neighbor giving an account of what she was told.
A 911 call came from the mobile home community in the area of DeQuinder and East 10 Mile.
7 News Detroit reporter Kimberly Craig went there to find out exactly what happened.
Neighbors tell me the little boy who was killed lived behind me here with his mother and siblings for the last few months, and what may have started out as a punishment turned into a deadly assault.
I was devastated.
Do you know Jolene here?
Yeah. She's actually one of the reasons I really feel like they had to gag that child, because God bless her heart, but Jolene is absolutely a nosy person. Yeah. And Will is she's stay-at-home mom, so she's up in everyone's business, for better or worse. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I know Jolene well. She's part of the reason I think that he had to be gagged, because she would not have been quiet if she heard something.
I wouldn't think so. She looks like she knows what's up.
Yeah, she's a cool person. Jolene's a good person.
It was heartbreaking. It really was.
Jolene Sidlowski was horrified to hear about the last days of a little boy's life after he'd been struck multiple times with what may have been a belt.
And I guess she took it too far when she battled his butt.
Okay, so this goes along with what Grandma told you, that she believed that his death was caused by this belt whipping.
Yeah. So I'm reading probably way too much of the news about this. Mm-hmm. And I'm not seeing this anywhere. So I'll say it here. The day that Chulo was taken to the hospital, when the 911 call was made, this was the day after the belting, and Daniel was in the shower with the child, cleaning him up, getting him ready, whatever, and he turned blue and passed out. He then called, I'm not sure how the mother, because the mother was at work. She was at her job. I'm not sure how, if he called the mom first and then whatever, but it seems that she then called 911. And that's where things proceeded from. Oh God, I'm sorry, I forgot where I was going with that. But yeah, that seems to have been the course of events the morning of is, he's cleaning the kid up, the kid seemed to be okay, and then suddenly everything was not okay.
Okay, but my understanding is mom was at work. This belting, which I cannot stand. We have a totally different timeline because grandma said she saw it like a week before. Jolene just heard the story, and we know that getting hit with a belt is not going to perforate your bowels and abdomen.
Yeah, the amount of force that had to have been, I mean, he had to have been actually punching this small child.
Uh-huh. Exactly.
Like, you
But
don't get that from.
People have been told the same story from grandma. That's what she thought happened.
Yeah.
Do you know where grandma was that day?
She was at work.
Okay.
Belt.
She got a
I
call.
guess she took it too far when she paddled his butt.
Then Tuesday afternoon, someone in the home called 911 to report the 6-year-old boy not breathing.
I guess woke up and was throwing up something brown, and then he just passed out, fell to the ground.
When EMS.
Okay, him throwing up something brown is blood.
Yeah, that's definitely blood mixed with the stomach contents.
And that wasn't from getting his butt whooped the day before.
No, absolutely not. That was from I'm not sure if they got it from one of the kids or if they have actual video of it, but that's from the multiple punches to the child's stomach that the prosecutor mentioned.
Well, and the 4-year-old is giving them a lot of information. One of the children, I will not say what age, said that Chulo was dying all day. So somebody in the house knew something was going on and did not want to call the authorities.
Yeah.
Now, did Elena come home early from work, or did she come home when her shift was over? What about grandma? I mean, how did everyone find out this was going on?
So I'm not aware of the exact of when everyone came home. I know when it happened, Daniel was at home with the child, obviously. Grandmother was at work, and I believe the mother was at work as well. No, I'm sorry, the grandmother was at an appointment. She had recently had a fall at work and she was getting checked out. Grandmother got a call at some point that, hey, all of this is going on. She came home, and by that point, Daniel was already in cuffs, and I believe the mother was already at the hospital or on the way to the hospital with Chulo.
And they can tell time of injury. They can tell when these things have happened. So
yeah,
good luck on lying, saying, "Oh no, he had just been with his dad the night before," and good luck on saying, "Oh, he got hit with a belt the day before."
Yeah, no, none of that's gonna fly. I believe they said that the dad had like a strong alibi or whatever. Like, he's clearly not involved. And for these people to do what they did and then try and say, "Oh no, dad did it," when it would be so easily provable that, like, no, he didn't.
I mean, it is easily provable, but I mean, when it gets to that point, why does grandma keep taking up for Daniel?
Do you mean currently? Is she? I haven't. The only interview I've seen was from the WXYZ, I believe it was. So is she defending it?
Oh, just that, just like what she told Jolene, what she told you. She thought this came from
Oh, that information came from before she was told, before Chulo had even died, is when I was given it, when she told me that she thought it was from, she hadn't, as far as she's told me, no idea what was happening.
okay.
But again, even as someone who's known her, I'm having somewhat of a hard time that she at least didn't, if she didn't know the extent of it, I'm having a hard time believing she didn't see something that would cause her to go, hey, maybe I should call CPS.
Or call 911 because it's going
Yeah.
on in the house and just say, listen. I mean, they have a dog pit in there, so where was the pit bull sleeping?
Pit bull slipper, the dog pen, as far as I know, was mainly just for when the dog was acting up. The dog, so yeah, no, the dog was mostly just sleeping wherever. I believe she slept with them. The pen was also for the 8 or so puppies they had at the time, because the dog had gotten pregnant.
Jesus H. Christ. How many dogs are in that trailer? Who's taking care of them?
Unfortunately, mostly the grandmother, and I believe Daniel was doing some stuff, but he mostly expected her to do it, even though it was. But yeah, there was originally 2 dogs there. One of the dogs got out and was taken by the city because he didn't nip, he scratched someone or something. He was just a little, like, 2-month-old puppy or whatever. And then while the other dog was still there, he had somehow gotten, the pit bull pregnant, and she had 8 puppies. So that house was pretty full.
I would say 3 kids, 3 adults, and a ton of dogs.
Yeah, but that is kind of how Daniel grew up. The house he grew up in, there was I want to say at the mat, grandma, grandpa, mom, brother, Daniel, 2 uncles, his baby mama's grandparent. There's probably about 14 to 15 people in the house, plus 5 dogs, 5 large dogs, 2 little dogs, hamsters, birds, fish. Wherever he's ever lived, there's always just been an abundance of people.
And police arrived, they say they found severe physical injuries on the boy. He was rushed to the hospital where he later died. Neighbors say police took his mother and her boyfriend, who was not the boy's father, into custody. The boyfriend's grandmother also lives here, and Jolene said that grandmother told her that the boy's mother took him into another room last week to punish him.
So one person hears the mother took him into a room last week to punish him.
Yeah.
And other people are told the day before. Alina said he was with his father. So when exactly and by the way, her hitting him with a belt is not the cause of his death. The prosecutor already put that out there. I mean, it's blunt force trauma to his abdomen.
After he got out the shower, she took him in the bedroom and patted him, but she could see the welts on him. Oh, you could see him over his legs, his arms.
Is there any way I could get back to you another time?
Oh, yeah, sure. Let me just finish.
Yeah, go ahead.
The belt, impression, the buckle.
We're told the boy's mother and her boyfriend.
Well, I think that's enough. So, going forward, are you going to have any communication with Daniel or with the grandmother?
The grandmother, mainly what I'm trying to do right now is help her get her life together so she can get out of mine for the most part. She's being evicted from that home due to what's happened. So,
she's being evicted?
Oh yeah, yeah, she's being kicked out. But you know, the good part of me is making me not be able to just leave this old woman by herself. But also with everything that's happened, I just want to be separated for a long time. This has been a lot for me. But Daniel, absolutely not. Um, if I do see him, it'll be if there's an open courtroom during his case, and hopefully I'll be able to spit in his face. That's that's the extent of communication I would ever like to have with him.
Yeah, good enough. I don't blame you for that at all. And, you know, I don't know where she's going to go, to be quite honest.
That's for her to figure out, I guess. I don't know, but you
I
know,
mean, you can't throw an old woman on the streets, but I mean, considering what went on in a short period of time where the blind eye was, sent the other way, it's so strange with, people that they care more about their own well-being than children.
yeah, like I said, I don't know exactly. I guess there's just part of me that's not exactly trying to defend her, but trying to give her the benefit of the doubt, and I just can't keep doing it. So I'm just trying to get her in a place where I don't have to worry about her sleeping in a car or on the streets, and separate myself from the situation.
Well, I will say this. For one, you're a good dude, okay? I can tell you're on the up and up. You're taking care of your family. Grandma, I don't think had any part in the abuse at all. It just seems from the outside looking in, I wasn't there, didn't live on 10 Mile. It seems to me that she ignored a lot of things that were going on right under her nose.
Not to be mean to her, but I will say she isn't the sharpest tool in the shed.
Okay.
So there is an amount that I could definitely attribute to stupidity. But yeah, I am definitely on the same page of there had to be some amount of, well, that's probably fine. Well, it's probably not that bad. Well, yeah.
Because she told you that Elena hit him with a belt the day before.
Yeah.
She told Jolene it was a week before. Now we know the spanking to his butt isn't what killed him.
Right.
Do you think maybe Grandma could have said that to try to pin it on Elena so Daniel wouldn't get in trouble?
I would really want to hope that she would not defend him in this situation at all and let happen what happened. But I wouldn't say if it came out that that's the case, I would be surprised.
Has he ever been abusive to animals?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the main reasons I hated his guts before now. I mean, they had a family dog who didn't particularly like how Daniel beat on the other family members. And one day when the dog went to nip at him, I mean, the dog didn't walk right for the rest of his life. Yeah, the way he quote unquote trains animals is slapping them until they do what he says. He's not. Yeah, there's definitely signs of psychopathy before.
Because I've had some things sent to me about how he treats animals, and sometimes a precursor to hurting other people is the way people treat animals.
Yeah. And as I said before, a lot of these actions that I'm reading about him doing are things he did to his little brother years and years ago. So none of this really surprises me that much, but to think that it was one thing to kind of beat on your little brother, and it all ended okay. It's not like he ever went to the hospital or anything, but it's another thing to do so to a 6-year-old child. It's another thing to do that to, in a way that, as a parent, it's different than being a brother. It's when you're supposed to be there to protect them. It's just sick.
It is sick. It is sick. Well, my friend, I will call you. I know you got to put your baby down and everything. Let's digest this. And if you want to continue this conversation, let me know, okay?
Alrighty, I will shoot you an email sometime, all right?
All right. And you've got my phone number. Thank you so
Right.
much for your information.
No problem. Have a good one.